Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher, and once again I'm joined by Mr. Ghost. What's happening, pal?
Guten Tag, Holmes.
That's because we have been once again on that PTR because Blizzard is doing really fucking well with 7.2. Jesus Christ. So we're going to go through a number of things here. Again, no spoilers until we hit the... Now we're going to spoil the shit out of stuff. But we've got... they've introduced... They're just bolstering content.
But these little bits are diamonds.
Absolute diamonds. I would have expected the Broken Shore that we looked at in the last video to go live like that and not expect anything else. But nope, they've introduced a capital ship. A big, giant, right in the middle of everything, capital Legion ship that's floating its ass around the Broken Shore and causing all kinds of mayhem, but also really doing some cool things, which we're going to get to in a minute. So another thing that we've seen added in this latest version of 7.2 is the new followers. So the Paladin and the Mage one in. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Let me just say a certain goblin from the class campaign is going to end up sending you off to the Bunny universe. The Bunny universe. That's going to happen. It's a little quick quest, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is fucking hilarious, and I hope all the others are equally as good, so well worth it. On top of that, we have now got to travel down to the Broken Shore. We can now construct our buildings, which is very, very cool. So we got the command center is currently constructed on the PTR, as is the Mage Tower. And we're currently building the Disruptor building of the three. Now, one thing we did find out here, which I thought was interesting and didn't notice, is that the buildings actually have an expiry date. Not sure what happens with that. They currently have about 2.5 days left on the PTR. It looks like maybe they shut down and they're reinforcing or something, and then you get the buffs back.
We can't add to it once it's running, so we just have to let it run its course. I'm assuming that, like, World Fantasy-wise, it's taken damage and we have to reconstruct it, I guess.
That would make sense.
That would make
something
sense.
along those lines.
But once the buff runs out, then you have to reapply the amount of mats it takes to get it running again.
But they do give really nice buffs.
Yeah, nothing arbitrary.
No, nothing arbitrary. So we have chance for double artifact power while in the Broken Shore, chance for double Legion war supplies while in the Broken Shore, uncovery of world bosses, dungeon quests were also part of the unlock process, so plenty of things are given. So it's well worth upgrading and getting these things. Yeah. You want those buffs to be there. It was very, very cool. And on top of that then, let's talk about the Sandton Axe and what it's all about. Tell us about the Sandton Axe, Andy.
So good.
What is he doing?
We went over for a ponder, mate, just to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Now, when you're underneath the Sandton Axe, you get a buff that says this is where you can get beacons.
Yeah, the shadow of the Sandton Axe.
Shadow of the Sandton Axe.
And you do have to have that buff for this to work.
You absolutely do. We think the terrain actually turns purple where you get fell green. It looked like it turned purple underneath the Sandton Axe to indicate you're in the area, but that might have just been a coincidence, but it's a pretty big fucking coincidence.
Yeah.
So anyway, you kill a couple of mobs, you'll get a broken beacon, which you need to hand in initially so that we can find out what it does. And when we go back to our... Where was it called again? Where we went back to?
Deliverance
Point, pal. That's the one. They say that basically this is a walkie-talkie between ground troops and the Sandton Axe. Now, if you use this, we could run the risk of bringing them down. However, we could use that to our advantage.
Yeah, they're saying we could thin the numbers. So they're like, don't fuck around with this thing because it's going to call reinforcements.
They actually warn you, mate, as well. I've just remembered the dialogue that says this could go extremely bad.
Exactly. It said if you want, you could thin the numbers of the Legion by calling them in. Or if you've got a group ready, go ahead and bring them down. But be warned, you can
use it with caution, basically.
And they weren't fucking lying, because honestly, I don't know what I was expecting from this. I was expecting similar to Silithus, which was something like the 3 and 5, nothing mega to go
just
on.
a small, like, mob spawn event type situation.
Because this is where we have to broach the subject. There is a new Apexis crystal. It's the Nether Shards. They're in the game, and they do buy you gear. And also, it does look like if you're crafting legendaries, one of the resources you're going to need for the crafting legendaries is purchasable by Nether Shards. Whether you need many
1,500
it's only 1,500, which isn't a lot. As we found out.
Well, that's for one. Maybe we need multiple. I don't know.
So I'm just pre-warning you. But one thing I'm absolutely going to say right now: the farming of Nether Shards is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It is not like Apexis.
Absolutely.
So how do we farm, Andy? How do we farm?
This was insanely good, and it was like a chain reaction that we didn't know it was going to happen until it happened. It happens that fast.
I absolutely thought it was going to be shit.
Well, with the first portal, you get another beacon. You head back once you've handed the quest in for a chance to get another broken beacon. We get that, you activate it, it opens up a portal. Now, our first wave from this portal were a couple of imps and an abyssal. So we killed those, but then we got another beacon from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think before, while we were doing it, we got 3 or 4 people opening the same portal. So the portals do spawn in set positions.
Yeah.
Because we literally went off to see if we could get our back-to-back portals, because people were opening the same wussy-ass portal over.
And not just that, it's the Alliance and Horde, they don't share tags as well.
Yeah, they don't share tags, but as it turns out, no, they're in set positions, but there are plenty of portal spawn locations that are very, very close to each other. Very, very close indeed.
I got to admit, when we was doing ours, I think we had 2 open. By this time, we'd had that one open, another guy activated it again, but while that was active, I did another one in a slightly different area, which opened up a second, and then before we knew it, I looked in the distance, and there was about another 3 from other people as well.
In the same area, yeah.
Now, once we kill these, and then the stronger elites come through, you get a stronger style beacon.
Yeah, you get a new beacon called the Greater version, and they also have affixes with them. So we started off with the Fire Flash, which seemed to give us imps and basic demons. But then we started getting of engineering, we started getting of putrefaction, we started getting all sorts, and they spawned like alchemy-based mobs. We also had ones that spawned winged-based mobs. So we got these greater ones, and the greater ones gave us an infernal, Hellfire Infernal, and like them demon mothers. The fat floaty demon mothers.
The fat,
with wings.
saggy-titted ones with no legs.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, so this is the harder ones. Does anything else happen? And then Andy picked up a what, mate?
Well, here, let me give you a little context for it. Is by this point, you are looking in front of you and just trying to stay alive, because it's not. I mean, we're quite well geared.
Yeah.
And especially for me being melee, it's you've got to keep an eye on your HP. You can't just swash these down. And when I took it back and I looked around, there was probably a cluster now of maybe about 30 or so Alliance and Horde, but everywhere in the distance there was portals dotted around.
Yep.
And there was a constant spawn of things from imps to greater demons, and then obviously the elites.
Fucking spiders.
And the spiders, webbing us. Now, I got a... What was it called again, bruv?
I can't remember the name of it, but the tag on the rune was empowers all the portals.
Yeah, just to send that home, is anything that you get which will buff the portal that you've done isn't just for yours, it's everything in the portal spawning area.
Yep.
So I got the empower portal things while we are currently getting overrun, and I thought, fuck it. Used it. The second that it activated, a ginormous modern style Fell Reaver drops out of the sky.
Yeah, it was pretty much the Iron Reaver from Hellfire. It even had the overrun ability.
Yeah, and it's got World Boss HP.
World Boss HP. Yeah, it took... there was at least 35, 40 people bashing on it. And I had aggro on it for a while. And I was like, someone please fucking tank this thing.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was running everywhere. I was like, please tank this thing. I think I'd fired off a spell when it appeared. Yeah. And my ignite just spread to it. And everyone else went, I'm not touching it. So I was like running around like, please someone tank this thing. But it was straight World Boss.
Yeah, on top of that, no loot from it. I think we will do, obviously, when we get it in game.
Yeah, it's PTR.
But this doesn't stop the spawn of the lessers and the other elites from the portals as well. They are constantly they're constantly coming in while we're attacking this giant fucking robot.
Yeah, and you can keep them all empowered and keep them summoning with greater ones.
Exactly, and you can stay there for as long as you feel like farming.
It was a war.
It was a war. Once you've got that
war.
farm going, because obviously there are other people picking up these empowerments and duration buffs for the portals, there's going to be a constant supply. So once that reaction starts, unless everyone leaves, there's no stopping
reaction, because we got there and there was nothing happening.
No.
There was nothing happening at all. We opened a portal, and less than 5 minutes later, there was just an all-out war.
That was it, yeah.
Amongst everybody.
Exactly.
Because people are all sharing loot with the tags. They're all getting beacons, then spreading it out. And then we started to get new types of beacons once we had all this going on. And you should be happy by this.
These were cool.
Yeah, so the first one I got was to be able to contact the Fellhammer, not the Fellhammer, the Sandton Axe.
Yep.
And fire down a torpedo that turned the dead corpses in my area into Starlight Rose.
That's quality.
It was really good. They shot it at me, and all 7 patches of Starlight Rose came straight out the ground.
I had 2. Now, I don't know if this is the intended mechanic or not, because I didn't cloak them. Didn't think they was going to kill me, but it says... I should have really seen it. It says, fire down on your location.
Yep.
Now, one of them was a Fell Slate missile, which, once it hits, it petrifies the mob that it hits into Fell Slate.
Yeah.
Also, there are shards that spawn around it where you can mine the Fell Slate.
Yep.
The other being, I can't remember it, it's something like Missile of the Bloodshed or something. When that hits, it splashes a load of Sargeras shards around where you can pick them for actual Blood of Sargeras as well.
Yeah, you get all kinds of resource for it. You were getting... They definitely... I think, without going any further on that, because that's basically kind of where we left it, because it was non-stop. It was we got about 300 nether shards in about 10 minutes.
We tested all the mechanics, like you say. We got about just over 300 in about 10 minutes. Tried a variation of the missiles just to see the whole block of it. So I think this is going to be continuous until that capital ship's dealt with in that area.
Yeah, it's supposed to move. I never saw it move. It's supposed to move around the area. I never saw it move, but it is early days in the PTR.
Yeah.
But in terms of like Apex's farming, like comparing it even slightly to that, which we have to, because you can still buy gear with nether shards and stuff like that. So far, it's only like 835, but that's placeholder stuff. I didn't see any upgrade items like we saw with Sanan.
Yeah.
But for what I saw, this is just such a fun way of doing it.
Really
Especially if they keep it like that chaotic and non-stop. I can imagine some people being quite happy to stick something on a Netflix or whatever and go and chill there for half an hour and just get everything done and just keep racking up and doing mad AoE, especially if there's no tanks. But I assume when the big tanks get there, I could totally imagine, like, our main tank is somebody who just likes getting on with stuff like that. He'll sit there all day just AoE tanking everything. Like, bring it to him, he'll just tank the fucking...
I'm really happy that we got to see it from ground level as well, if that makes sense. Literally from the first portal to then taking it back by probably 5 to 10 to 15 in all ranged. It's obviously underneath the ship itself, but there are so many portals in different locations in your immediate area. It was so good.
Well played, Blizzard, honestly. A really wonderful addition. I would not have expected it to have been anything like this. No. And to take that old Apex's formula, which everyone's made a joke out of, and say, yeah, you made a joke out of it, we think we can do better.
Yeah.
And they have done.
Absolutely.
They've absolutely done better. This was a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind going down there if I had 20 minutes and I needed nether shards, if I was crafting something.
Yeah.
I have no issue doing that and just fucking blowing the place up constantly, seeing what gets. Because you might say, oh, it probably won't be like this on live. It might be more sterile. It won't be, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody's looting all the tagged mobs, and we were doing what other people are doing, which is like, ooh, what does this one do? Ooh, what does this one do? And you think about it in L5, if you've got a button that says make everything more powerful,
you're going to press it.
People are going to press it. Yeah. And it's going to just keep going and keep opening these portals. So that was really, really cool to see. According to Blizz, we've got to get the class mounts this week.
Ooh.
We're going to get the class mounts this week. So look out for that one, guys. Thank you so much for listening. See you again.
See you later.
Bye-bye.